Hi, imagine if you had to search for something on the internet. Now, out of these two providers, who would you go for? Hands up for Google, if you want to search for Google. Anyone for Bing? Oh, come on guys. Now, here's a different question. What if you had to search for an image, like as an image recognition? Now imagine if you work for a clothing company and want to make an app. And the app is so that you could take a photo of anyone wearing a dress and it will automatically recognize that dress and match it to your catalog. Now, which one of these two services would you go for? The Google Developer Cloud Vision Platform or the Microsoft Cognitive Services? Or how about IBM Watson? Or how about any one of these other image recognition services out there? Hi, we're Team IdentifEye, an image recognition service federation. Let me pass you over to Chen, who will give you guys more information.
Thank you, Dan. We're going to talk about two developers, Cindy and Dave. I'm pretty sure there are many developers in this room right here. Imagine you have just nailed a job and with a business intelligence service company, the same way Cindy and Dave have. Or you want to create your own startup where you want to apply image recognition technology in applications like e-commerce, automotive industry, social media. The first thing you would like to do is, okay, let me go take a look at all the image recognition technologies that are available. Or I'd like to create my own. These are the two options that you have. Now, if you decide to go for a service that is already available to you, the first thing you would do is go and look at all the services that are available, and you would try to validate which service is the right service for you. And in order to do so, developers usually send thousands of images to all of these services that they think will be applicable to their application and try to validate the responses that all of these image recognition service APIs provide to them. And when you're doing all of this, it's very time consuming. You need a computer vision team to build the right algorithm to do this. And it is also very expensive because right now image recognition is very expensive. It is not like text query where it's very, it's in the negative, not negative, and in lower cent range. We know this problem very well because as Team IdentifEye initially started to create our own image recognition service, what we tried to do was we wanted to go and see what other services are available and if we can use them for a consumer app. This is what we did. We sent them a lot of images. As you can see here, we sent an image of a flash drive to Blipper, to Campfine, and Wolfram. As you can see in the lower left, Blipper came up with interesting answers. It said, it looks like a bottle of hairspray, or Ciroc vodka. And it also came up with answers like Russian ruble. And if you look at Campfine, they did a better job. They identified that it is a flash drive. It is given from Stanford Business School, and it also identified the color, which means this service looks at the text written on the object, it looks at the color, and it also identifies the object. If you look at Wolfram's result, it says it's an electric battery. Probably it looked at just the shape of the object, or just a combination of the color, and it came up with something similar to a AAA battery. The same problem applies to an object that has no text written on it, just color, for example. Campfine did a great job in terms of telling you that it's a red flash drive, but did not do so well when the lighting was bad. It said it's a gray and beige chair instead of saying brown and beige. And it linked to a very different service that talks about Bosley hair restoration, which is very different from the input image that we gave. And Wolfram said it's a footrest. Right, I do use it as a footrest, but is that the right answer? Probably not. The lack of accuracy and the lack of accuracy in all of these results is very bad for a business, because the moment you take a picture and send it to your business, you want to get the right result so you can go and purchase these things. Or for a business stocking, you want to know what exactly is on your shelf. The team IdentifEye created a prototype, like I initially mentioned, for a consumer app, and we tested it out. This is what we came up with. These are the results from its prototype that is available in the Messenger bot. It said it's a Stanford Business flash drive, and it correctly identified the color of the chair. On average, it did better. It did better because when we tried out several different services, we figured out there are gaps. And so as a federation service, we tried to combine them or send the right image to the right API that is out there. And that is exactly what IdentifEye is trying to do, because the lack of accuracy and detail is very painful for developers when they are developing for a certain business application. It also becomes very time-consuming, and it's also very expensive. Like I mentioned earlier, that image recognition service is not very cheap. And the biggest reason for this is that the market is very fragmented. There are multiple APIs that are available for very niche applications that they are trying to perfect. Now, to take you through what IdentifEye can do for this market, I invite Dan.
Thank you, Jen. So, developers face a fragmented market with no reliable way to get the best answer possible. And at IdentifEye, we think we've solved this problem. We built what we call a federation model. We made a system that can access all of the image recognition services in the marketplace. And it uses machine learning to build a model where it finds the strengths and weaknesses of every system. It's also capable of accessing our own in-house image recognition systems. So the idea is companies with diverse image recognition needs, like Kalidoss, Markable, TalkWalker, others, they send us an image. We quickly categorize the image with our own in-house system, and then we forward it on to the system that's best suited for answering their query. Because this strategy positions us at the center of the image recognition marketplace, it also means that we can identify needs of the marketplace over time. And anywhere we see a need that's not well met by existing services, we can build custom systems that can address that particular need and integrate it into our larger model. So then from the perspective of these companies trying to apply image recognition, IdentifEye is just a service that returns the best answer every time. This has a lot of advantages. This obviously offers improved accuracy over the use of any one model. It saves developers time because now they don't have to test out different services to find which service is best for which image. This automatically provides access to multiple providers, meaning developers only have to integrate once with us, and we take care of integrating with everybody else. And this offers flexibility, because the marketplace is growing and shrinking, competitors enter and exit, and developers only connect to us, and we take care of monitoring the marketplace and always integrating with the best services. So to make this a little more concrete for you, I'm going to give you a use case. I mentioned Markable, and Markable is trying to develop a visual e-commerce app. They have it in the App Store now, and the idea behind the app is that users can submit an image and highlight any consumer item in that image. Markable wants to be able to return to that user what the item is, what it costs, and where they can buy it. So what happens if Markable turns to a mediocre service? The service might return a correct-ish result, like green dress, and that is true, it's a green dress. But if Markable goes and returns a green dress, it could be something like this. And that's not going to make a sale. Markable will make no money because that's the wrong green dress. And this is a real problem because the quality of services varies not only between the services, but just between different images and different categories of images. What we really want Markable to be able to return is something that's like what the consumer is actually looking for. Developers at Markable have a lot of choices then between which service they're going to use. And they need some way to pick those services. And the problem is that for shoes, it may be one. For green dresses, it may be another. And for things like good lighting, poor lighting, those affect the service you'd want to use too. So this is a very dynamic, complex problem. And IdentifEye says to companies like Markable, don't worry about it. use us. We'll find you the best answer every time. So to tell you a little bit more about the competitive marketplace, I want to hand off to Florence.
The computer vision software market today is a $2 billion market, and of which the serviceable market is 30 million. There are more than 200 companies that could be our potential clients. Every year, there are more than 1 billion image searches, and we're expecting that the market's going to grow at a 59% compound annual growth rate. And what that means is, by 2020, the market's going to grow to $8 billion, with service obtainable market at 190, and more than 300 companies that could be our clients. So it is a healthy market that we want to get into. Now let's take a look at the current key players in the market, the current image recognition service providers. Due to the nature of training image recognition system, companies who are providing image recognition services either focus on a niche market with high level of accuracy, or they focus on a broad set of market, but with average or below average accuracy. With IdentifEye, because we use federation model, which means that we can access to all of these different service providers, and on a case-by-case basis, pick the most accurate service to serve the result. And what that means is that we can always deliver accuracy over a broad range of markets, and that's what makes us different. In fact, the federation model is a proven business model. We have seen this being applied to other industries, such as the cloud industry. A great example of that is Apprenda, which is a company who is using federation for clouds. And they have raised $56 million to date. So we know that it's a proven business model. And to our best knowledge, we have not seen any companies in the image recognition industry who is applying the federation model. So we believe that if we enter the market now, we will have the first user advantage. And our goal is to grow our user base as fast as we can. And therefore, because our clients are already implementing and integrated our services into their applications, that it's going to create a barrier to entry because the switching cost will be high. Other people who want to enter the markets, either they have to be 10 times better than us or 10 times cheaper than us. To tell you more about our go-to-market strategy, Louis is going to discuss that.
So, how do we plan to capitalize on this early mover advantage that Florence has just spoken about? So we plan to do two things. First is identify, or we have done two things. First is identify our target market. These companies are characterized by three main points. One, they have a high sensitivity to accuracy in their search results. What this means is, as Dan said with Markable, if they return the wrong result, they don't make a sale, so no revenue. The second point is that they need a broad scope for the images that they recognize. An example of this would be a company that goes through social media images looking for brand awareness. The more they can recognize in these images, the more information they can give to their clients, and the better their service becomes. And the last point is that they're currently outsourcing their image recognition needs. This is where the barrier to entry for us is the lowest, and where we feel like we can make the most difference. So Markable is actually an example of one of the companies in this segment. They took the first box, they sell quite a wide range of items, and from a hefty LinkedIn stock, they either have one developer that we really need to poach, or they're outsourcing their needs. So based on that, we've laid out an aggressive sales strategy, starting with a direct sales team. This team will be identifying medium to high range value clients in this early space, and then moving further afield later. And development assistants, which you can think of as rent a founder for a day, for anyone who's thinking of implementing our service or currently implementing our service, to help them implement and to help us learn about how we can change our service to become more applicable to clients like them. So, moving on to the economics. Starting with pricing. So our pricing structure is on a per transaction basis. So we accept an image from our client, we charge them a flat rate for that. We then choose which API to send this image to, send it to that API, pay them their fee, receive the result, and pass the result backwards. So, just to go over a bit of landscape with our competitors or other services, one of the premium services, CloudSide, comes in at about 4 to 6 cents. And most of our suppliers, all clustered under the 1 cent mark, so all of the bigger recognition services, with an average of about a third of a cent, so 0.3 cents. So, IdentifEye plans to come in at 3 cents. Why 3 cents, you may ask? Based on the Markable example and similar companies, we did a value-based pricing analysis, and we found that a 15% increase in accuracy could create as much as 3 cents of value on a per transaction basis for them if they make a sale. So we plan to extract that 3 cents out of that market, or as much of it as we can, but with our pricing model. So moving on to the unit economics. We've done this on a per client basis over the lifespan. We have a reasonably high cost of acquisition in the first year due to our aggressive sales strategy. This is projected to go down to about $10,000 by the third year. But because of our 10x margin on each transaction that we're handling and the value we create, we're confident that we can make over $100,000 per client over an estimated lifespan of 3 years. So this gives us a 3x return from the first year and moving upwards to a possible 10x return per client that we can attain. I'd like to hand over to Hamza to tell you what this means in the long run.
So thank you, Louis. Moving on to our financials. Our venture is expected to hit a positive net cash flow as we move to our third year of operation. This is based on a revenue stream that Louis discussed earlier of 3 cents per image search. We're also estimating an average of 3,500 image searches per day per client. So this is actually a conservative estimate based on CloudSide API, which had a total of 450 million image searches over the course of their launch from 2012. We're also projecting our customers to double as we move from year 2018 and forward, and this is primarily due to the heavy marketing campaign and acquisition strategies that will be deployed in the early years. In fact, if you look at the net cash flow here, you can see a decrease as we move from 2016 to 2017. And this is due to the fact that we're spending more than $500,000 only on marketing in that year. So, to take into account the time value of the money, we actually calculated a discounted net cash flow every year, assuming a discount factor of 15%. This translates to a net present value of 1.4 million and an internal rate of return of 47%. The payout period is after 2.5 years, as you can see in the intersection of the revenue and cost curves. So, we're seeking an investment of 1.3 million, which will be deployed in 2 milestones. The first milestone will require 100,000, which will test the minimum viable product and determine the product market fit. So our goal here is to maximize information about every customer per dollar spent. So we'll be targeting a subset of our potential software developers and get valuable feedback from them on features such as the range of applicability, the accuracy of the results, and how much they're actually willing to pay for this. So this is how we will test our early prototype and get the much needed valuable information. The rest of the funding will be deployed over the next 2 years to achieve the second milestone. So this will cover the marketing cost as well as the operational cost, which includes R&D, legal fees, and so on. And after gaining traction in 2019, that's when we will focus on growth. Growth in sales will require expanding our team and also optimizing our search engine algorithm. Now I'll pass it to Dan, who will talk about the team.
Thank you, Hamza. Over the last month, I've been so fortunate to work with some of the most talented people I've ever met. We have Florence over here, who did a PhD in solar energy and now works at SunPower in the Valley. Dan here is our image recognition service expert, and he did a PhD in semiconductors and machine learning. Louis from South Africa is now on his 4th startup. Chen works at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and is a hardware engineer, flies planes in his spare time. Hamza is an oil engineer from Saudi Arabia and is now doing a PhD in petroleum engineering. I did my PhD working for a wearable tech startup that's just raised a Series A. I co-founded a company that measures UV radiation to protect people from getting sunburnt. So we have such a diverse experience, and we come from 6 different countries. And when I look back, all the circumstances that has brought us here today, and I think, wow, we're so lucky to be here as a team. And I asked, why are we doing this? And the reason is we think that image recognition has so much potential. We think of all the applications that could be developed. There are so many things that could be used for. And we see all the big players like Google, Microsoft, IBM. They're all opening up the platforms for developers to build this image recognition into their services. But currently the marketplace is fragmented. There are more and more image recognition service providers coming up. And the time to provide a consolidation, federation service is now. So when we provide IdentifEye to our clients, it will give them the most accurate results that's currently on the market for the price of a single service provider. So why choose when you can let IdentifEye identify for you? Thank you.